Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to episode 2, I believe, of HUD Designer React. Today we have a very special, talented individual that I think really deserves recognition, and I don't see a lot of people mention his name. I think it's very, very important that we talk about SANU SAGAR. Basically, SANU SAGAR is, I would call him EG generalist because he's a UI designer, a 2D designer, 3D designer, file frames, animate stuff. So yeah, SEG generalist. Basically, he does everything everywhere all at once. He started, the reason why he really caught my attention, it's because he's from India, and the way I see it, I can relate somehow to a certain extent, because when you have this huge population and then that everyone is fighting for, let's just say, for the same goal, and then you manage to pop out and put your name there. I really like stories like that, and Sanu is definitely one of them. He grew up in Ranchi, India. He focused in digital design, he studied it, and then I believe he started working freelance with Perception back in 2016. And then it went on and he got hired full-time in the USA, I think LA. I believe they are in LA, Perception. Perception is a studio, as you can see here. The Perception is a studio that just focuses on, I believe, VFX, title credits, and the UI. Mainly UI, that's how they got known. Yeah, he managed to nail a full-time design position with them. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, just recently, like few weeks ago, or a month ago, he switched to be full-time freelancer, but he still works with Perception as far as I'm concerned. I hope these details are not wrong. I think we should really jump in and look at it. And when you just click on his profile on Behance, you will probably instantly realize why I really like this guy. And for a very simple reason. One, he only has one picture online, but after some digging, I could finally find that he has another picture. So he has two pictures on the internet. There we go. So yeah, SANU SAGAR. This is just a joke. You can see that the reason I like this guy, with all honesty, it's the fact that I love colors. I really, really love colors. I love everyone who tries to put a lot of colors into one style, into one frame, because I feel like that's a huge challenge to really balance colors out. The thing about HUD design is whenever you look at HUD design, usually what you would expect is blue and green, or blue and orange. These are the kind of colors that you would actually expect, and that's the kind of colors that you see most of the time, because you don't really want to take the user's attention with the HUD. So putting colors, it's really, really, really hard, and not everyone can actually do it. That's what really attracted me to SANU SAGAR. But most importantly, I like to see where people started from, and this is what caught my attention. Check this out. So this is SANU SAGAR's. He has a lot of projects, and when we go to his website, he has some really, really impressive projects. But the one that really attracted me, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. It's this one here. So check this out. Personal projects really means a lot. Basically, you need to pay attention to personal projects, because that's how you grow, that's how you show who you really are. And in this instance, as you can see here, this, I believe, was also something that he tried to do from the Ashtorp course, the data design course, and he tried to take his take, but in the same time he's tried to put it in the Ender's Game category. So if you look at Ender's Games from Ashtorp, you'll see that it's a lot of details. It doesn't fill you up. It doesn't feel like it's too much, you know. Sometimes I look at some designs and I'm like, that's a lot on the screen. It's like there's a difference between adding details and between just overwhelming the user. And that's one thing that Territory Studios really excel at doing, as well as Perception, which is they put a lot of details, but it doesn't mean that they put a lot of garbage in front of you. It's just beautiful, just enough, well balanced. Anybody who tries to take this challenge of Ender's Game, try to get a screen, try to get an element, let's just say, just take your Apple Watch and try to make a screen out of it in the Ender Game style, and you'll see that it's really complicated, it's really hard. But he managed to do the hardest of them all, which is this kind of scene, which he took a challenge of. And when you see this, it really stands out from the rest of the Torp, Learn Square, Data, UI sizes of students that try to take on this challenge. There's a huge difference. It's like there's this guy, and there's another guy, I forgot his name, probably will have to look at him, and then there is Sanu. You can easily see why this is really different, because everybody else, what would they'll try to do, they'll go to to a sphere, and they do a poly effects, and then they'll just keep on duplicating because they believe that that's what details actually mean, but that's not really it. So here you can literally see the elements in the screen without being completely overwhelmed. It's like this is a perfectly balanced screen. You don't need to see the line here. You don't need to see the details here. They are there, but you don't really need to see there. Hopefully you guys can see my mouse. This is what really caught my attention at first. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me see more of what you can do. And then I saw that he did this hammer thing. Now, this is the second thing that I like about SANU is the keyframes are just bellissimo, are just, as they say in Swedish, lagom. They are just there. They're just perfect. You don't need to super fasten them. You don't need to slow them anymore. They're just perfect. So here's the Hammer EV. I believe that if you're looking at the 3D version of this, there's supposed to be a live that Cinema 4D has done before. So please just check the Maxon Cinema 4D live streams and you'll find where they do. Now we're focusing on the UI and SANU in particular. And as you could see here, there are a lot of colors that usually you don't expect from HUD design. There is obviously the blue, but you never see these kind of hues of blue or this kind of hues of orange or the green. Usually you just expect this kind of blue. You see what I mean? It's this kind of blue that you usually expect, or this kind of orange that you actually expect. But sometimes he go out and he introduces green of these values, red of these values, which usually people will try to avoid because it's really hard to balance on the screen. He did it quite perfectly, and when you put everything all together, it still looks really good. I personally really think that this looks pretty good. I remember long ago, just as something maybe you can learn from, I tried to take on a test that has to do with UI for a car, and I completely failed it. I'm not gonna lie. So that just probably tells you, maybe I'm bad. I don't think I'm good, but it just tells you that designing UI for car, it sounds that easy, but it's really not. So this is quite a bold challenge from perception to actually take, especially for Hammer, without overwhelming you with details. So trying to really study the UX of this, the usability, what needs to be there, what doesn't need to be there, how long does it take to show this, how do we switch from this screen to that screen. And I think those challenges are really hard, and the fact to see that they actually nailed it, it's pretty amazing. And yeah, I really love this. So you can see here in terms of balancing, you really have all the elements right in front of you without much of distraction. One thing that I remember really caught me off guard is this project right here, which rightfully so has a lot of featured. It's not this one, it's this one. But before we go into that one, because that is the very juicy project, I want to go into this one. And I remember these are screens that I saved long when I was using Pinterest back in the days. Yeah. You get these holograms with really a lot of colors. So you can see here, he has a very good understanding of balancing how much should the blue take dominance, the green or the purple. So usually what people would do, they would just lay it all there, but he doesn't. And I really like that a lot. I love that you can still see all the elements here. Nothing really foreshadows another element. Again, his own take on this hologram for when you talk about elevations and mountains. Usually what you will see, they'll just put this as blue and then they'll put this one as a blue. Also, as you can see here, when it comes to hologram, you'll have these detail here. So it's just beautiful. I really love the details that he's not using the horizontal lines where you just cut things into cubes, but what he did is he just used the vertical, and it's just beautiful. He just breaks out of the norm. I really like that. I love the fact that there is this thing on the ground. I'm not sure if you guys can see here. It's this little thing here, the dots here. Instead of having just an empty ground, you have this reflective, and then all the parts that are not important have this kind of texture of ball action, I believe. This is amazing. Really, really amazing. You can still read the text. This is really amazing. Yeah, as you can see here, this is the thing that I just talked about, which is instead of having horizontal and vertical, he just chooses to use vertical, and it makes it very, very special. The shadow of the text has a very beautiful treatment. If you look closely, has a very beautiful treatment here. You can see here the details, but this, I believe you can just do it on a cell frame, but you can't really do it in real animation thing, which is this detail here. The navigation selection is very clear. Yeah, as you can see here with colors, it still looks really, really beautiful. He knows how much blue needs needs to be there so that he can make other colors come into place. I think that's pretty impressive. Now let's get back to the meat of the meat. This is my favorite all-time project. Yeah, there we go. At the time, this was something that was really, really amazing. So as you can see here, it's like a lot of details. But what he did was, instead of just having a bunch of unnecessary text and details, he took a spin on that. So you'll see it right here. So it has his own spin to this kind of design, and I feel like this is really beautiful. It's still heavily inspired, as you can see. It's still heavily inspired from this kind of screens. Damn, I missed this project when it first came out. It was insane. He actually reminded me of this. This is really beautiful. So this was his take, especially on a light, bright. I need to mention how important it is to point out that it is really hard to do FUI and UI design on top of something that is bright, something that is clear as the day. It's easy to do it on a dark screen, but it's so freaking hard to put it on a daylight. That's why I really appreciate the designers who takes on this challenge. So as you can see here, heavily inspired. And as you can see here, when you look at the style frame on the dark, it's really beautiful, it's really easy. But then when you contrast this with this, you see how hard it is? You see how different it is? Most of the things will just disappear. Most of the details will just go away. And that's what makes SANU's design really beautiful, because they will scream. They won't just sit there and be like, oh, well, I guess we're just, we're just on the side. And if you see us, thank you. If you don't see us, I don't blame you. No. They're still there. And I think this is beautiful and it's colorful, and I am all for colors. I love colors. And I think more people should try to take on this initiative and design challenge of actually adding more colors rather than just dystopian designs and the same blue HUDs and FUI. Please look at utopian designs. Try to make things that are colorful. Give hopes to the next generations. Give hopes to yourself and to your fellow designers. To be honest, we kind of need that with all of what's going on in the world. We really need that. And seeing colors is beautiful. And that's what SANU does. He creates beautiful things. Again, a take on grid, which is pretty cool. But this frame, this frame, man. This frame is really beautiful, man. It's like there's so much, but it's just the way he uses the blur it's just good. The way he enveloped this thing by using the reflection here, the reflection pass of the cube, and then he uses this called blur to give this importance and gradient here. It's just so beautiful, and he uses it on so many other instances as well. The use of mist to actually change from one color to another. Oh, it's just so beautiful. The thing is that I also like is adding these lines, dotted and then dotted lines, to add even more detail without really having to add more text into it. This is what really captures me about SANU. But then if we let's look at the more commercial stuff. He worked on Black Panther, and one of the things that people understand, and I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, is the reason why territory and perception are very strong in the field of UI design and HUD design and FUI. It's because they understand what is the difference between populating a screen and between adding details to a screen. And that's what perception does really perfectly here. And so I'm not going to play the 2 minutes here, so you can check it out. I'll put the link below. But I want to talk is this kind of things. So you'll see here that the animation is very simple, and there is a lot of detail in the design of the UI, but it's not so much to completely make you not wanting to actually look at it. It's like, oh, there's too much, and oh, I've seen it before. But you understand that things are happening and they're interacting with whatever she is doing. So here she's drawing, and then there'll be all these interactions, and it's just enough. The animation is just enough. It's just beautiful enough to portray the story, because remember, the camera is on the actor, it's not on the HUD. So as long as your UI accompany the action of the actor, that's what really matters. Yet perception and Terrestrial Studios always, every single project, every single time, they manage to still make it beautiful and it doesn't overwhelm the screen. So let's look at another example, just so that we can understand even more. So I think I could go a little bit down where he talks more about what he did here. So you see here, when you look at a screen like this, it's not overwhelming. You see, you can still see the actor. and you still focus on the actor. And this will just follow the action of the actor. And that's what really makes SANU SAGAR and Perception team stand out from the rest. It's this little fact is that, look, I understand that you want to try to design cool stuff and really mind-blowing designs like we've seen. But when it comes to the movie, that's not the time for that. You can still find a way to do it, and that's what they did here. But you have to keep attention that it's all about the story, not the design. If you want to do that, by all means, just go and personal project, and that's what personal projects are for. Again, let's look at the animation here. So check this out. So you see here, it just follows the story. It doesn't have to be like, wow, secret keyframes. There is no secret keyframes. Everybody's just trying to go by times. Everybody just creating stories. So you see, it doesn't have to be crazy. And the thing that I like, you know what I like about this project is the fact that usually what you see is, I forgot what they used to call it. It's like you do things in a grid. So it's always the same thing. It's always this rectangle things where there's this and this and this and this and this. And everything is in a box in a grid. But the thing about this project, the fact that they tried to break out of that, and they did. They tried to introduce shapes like this. And that's amazing. It's not a perfect square. It's not a perfect rectangle. It's not a grid. It's a shape to accompany the treatment of the entire movie. That's amazing. So here's another animation that was used. So as you can see here, as I said in the beginning, it's just perfect keyframes, nothing too crazy, nothing too slow. It's just perfect. So again, when you put this, I mean, it can stand alone and it can be put in an action movie. And I think that's what makes SANU SAGAR's designs and animation really stand out of the rest. So yeah, guys, ladies and gentlemen, that was my episode and my impression of SANU SAGAR. Funny, we just connected today on LinkedIn. It's just funny. I was planning of doing this episode today, and today this morning, right before actually I turned on my computer, I received a notification, hey, your invitation to connect with SANU SAGAR has been accepted. I'm like, yeah! So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. My name is MrPoppo, and this was just the HUD designer take on SANU SAGAR's amazing work. Please check out Perception. Please check out SANU SAGAR's portfolio. I'll put the link in the description, and I hope you have a wonderful day, whatever you are. My name is MrPoppo, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.